There's a lot of debate in the heavy community about which of the two lunchbox items is the best or most viable. The conversation is stacked, the banana or the sandwich. But which one is the best? Well, for that, we'll have to look into the stats. All lunchbox items occupy the secondary slot, replacing the shotgun. You can eat it by left-clicking, or you can throw it with right-click. When you eat, you will be locked into an animation for about 4 seconds. Upon consumption or throwing, the food item will go into a cooldown and can't be used again until recharged. You can prematurely recharge it by walking over your own dropped food item, walking over a health pack while your health is full, or via the resupply locker. Note that enemies can also pick up your dropped food, which may or may not be desirable. Let's start with the sandwich, the classic and first lunchbox item. When you eat the sandwich, you'll regain up to 300 health, and when thrown, acts as a medium health pack, which refills 50% of the user's health. The sandwich's cooldown is about 30 seconds. Now let's move on to the DeLocos bar. The DeLocos bar heals significantly less health, 100. However, to balance this, it also recharges in 1/3 the time, 10 seconds. Additionally, it provides the heavy with an extra 50 max health for 30 seconds, which still can't exceed 40 overheal. When thrown, it drops a small health pack which recovers 20.5% health. And now for the banana. The banana boasts a middle ground, healing the heavy 200 health. It too also recharges in 10 seconds, however lacks the additional health bonus, but is also thrown as a small health pack. Now for the final lunchbox item, the buffalo steak sandwich. The steak heals nothing. Like the sandwich, it also recharges in 30 seconds and drops a medium health pack somehow. But its stats are a bit more interesting. When consumed for 16 seconds, you gain the following. You are locked to your melee weapon, all of your attacks mini-crit, you move 30% faster, and you have a 20% damage vulnerability, which isn't even listed in the fucking description! Now that we have the stats, let's analyze them a bit further. Factoring in the time to eat plus cooldown time, we find that the sandwich heals you about 9 health per second. The DeLocos comes in at 7, and the banana at a whopping 14, and the steak, still nothing. Now in terms of sharing heals, both the steak and sandwich are tied at 1.67 health per second, and the same applies to the banana and the DeLocos, 2.05% per second. Of course, the sandwich and steak can both upgrade small health packs into medium ones, which you can do by, at full health, running over a small health pack, then tossing it at your injured teammate. Now, upon hearing this, most might think that the banana is the best option here. However, this isn't always true. With the banana, or even more so with the less used DeLocos, you'll have to be eating it far more often than the sandwich, which means you're going to have much more downtime. This is less of an issue of sharing it due to the lack of eating animation, but you still have to switch from your minigun to your snack, which means you're not dealing damage. Also, it is to note that the higher bursts of healing can be more advantageous than a more constant source. Now in terms of rebalancing, both the sandwich and banana are good options. One prioritizes more healing overall while the other prefers large bursts of healing. I can't say either one is better, as both have their benefits and drawbacks. However, the other two options are seen as weaker, the steak more so than the DeLocos. The DeLocos does have a niche in the field of snipers, as it means you can survive 2 quickscope headshots, but Overheal can do the same thing, as does the Fist of Steel. It is also to note that if your medic is using the quick fix, the increased max health can negate the downside of less overheal, though having to eat the chocolate bar every 30 seconds is tedious, especially if there's a push going on. Now, one way to improve it that I see is to increase the duration of the max health, say, to a full minute. This would mean that you wouldn't have to constantly be eating it around the clock in order to keep the buff. Another way that I could see to improve it is to reduce the time it takes to eat. This would further help with a more quick burst of healing rather than large chunks, as a more extreme version of the second banana. Other than that, I don't see any other ways to buff it that wouldn't encroach on the territory of other Lunchbox items. But what about the stake? Just remove the hidden damage vulnerability. It's enough of a penalty that you're stuck using melee, and the speed boost it gives puts you just under 100% move speed, so it's not like you'll be running 5 of the 9 classes. Maybe then playing melee heavy will be fun instead of making you want to rip your hair out. One suggestion I saw was to make the effects last forever until you swap, which I think should be implemented. Definitely with a switch speed penalty to make sure you don't rush an enemy and pull out a minigun. This would make it a sort of subclass and check up how heavy is played. It's not like it'd be terribly unbalanced anyways, compared to Demo Knight at least. In summary, just stick to the banana or sandwich, whichever one you like more. If snipers are giving you trouble, you can use the De Locos, and if you're a masochist, then use the steak.